Hello, my name's Gemma Orr and I'm the Operational Nurse Lead for North Yorkshire Safeguarding Children's Partnership. In this short video I'm going to give you an introduction to child exploitation in North Yorkshire. So the aims and objectives of this session is aimed at those who want to gain a fuller understanding of exploitation and what this looks like, especially in the context of North Yorkshire, and how we can all work together to tackle and prevent it. We're going to look at some signs and indicators and things to look out for in relation to exploitation, provide a brief overview of the MACE and National Referral Mechanism arrangements before looking at some information around serious youth violence. And then I'll guide you where you can get further help and information around exploitation and intelligence sharing. So contextual safeguarding is an approach to safeguarding that responds to young people's experiences of harm outside of the home, especially with peers in schools and in neighbourhoods. And this was first coined by Dr. Carlin Firmin through doctoral research and explores the places and spaces that young people spend their time and the harms that they may be exposed to within their communities, their schools, their environments within their local parks, bus stations, clubs and the streets where they would spend their time. So looking at the bottom left, we can see a diagram showing the circles of networks around a young person from the intrafamilial home and family, moving on to the extrafamilial or outside of the family home, including peer groups, the schools and communities, places and spaces that often happen outside of the family home. And it's important to think that the online space is not seen as a separate space, as it's not separate for many of our young people. It often interweaves and intertwines seamlessly into their day-to-day life. And the colour segments there are all topic areas that are covered by MACE. So looking at child criminal exploitation, often referred to as CCE, this occurs when an individual or group takes an advantage of an imbalance of power to coerce, control, manipulate or deceive a child or young person under the age of 18. The victim may have been criminally exploited even if that activity appears consensual. This doesn't always have to involve physical contact. It can occur through the use of technology, and criminal exploitation can often happen alongside other forms of exploitation such as sexual exploitation or financial exploitation. It's broader than just county lines and includes, for instance, children where are forced to work on cannabis farms, commit thefts or shopliftings, take part in pickpocketing, or even threats towards other young people or debt collection. Both boys and girls can be at risk of criminal exploitation, and children have been targeted in every area of the UK, not just in the larger cities or more urban areas. Child sexual exploitation, often referred to as CSE, occurs when an individual or group takes an advantage of an imbalance of power to coerce, manipulate or deceive a child or young person under the age of 18 into sexual activity in exchange for something that the victim needs or wants, and or for the financial advantage or increased status of the perpetrator or facilitator. The victim may have been sexually exploited even if the sexual activity appears consensual. It doesn't always again have to involve physical contact. It can also occur through the use of technology and online, and children can be targeted from any location or background. It's important to note that both boys and girls are both at risk of exploitation in this field, and offenders can also be male, female or groups of peers. So county lines is a form of criminal exploitation where gangs use children and vulnerable people to transport and sell drugs from urban areas into smaller towns and more rural locations, often using coercion, threats or violence. And gangs and organised criminal networks involved in exporting illegal drugs into one or more important areas within the UK, often using dedicated mobile phone lines or other forms of deal lines. They're likely to exploit children and vulnerable adults to move and store drugs and money, and they will often use coercion, intimidation, violence, including sexual violence, alongside weapons. Now, these groups are highly organised criminal networks, that use sophisticated, frequently evolving techniques in order to groom young people and evade capture by the police. So what does all this look like in the context of North Yorkshire? Well, the first and foremost important thing to highlight is that despite North Yorkshire being a low crime, largely rural county, criminal and sexual exploitation of children happens here too. There's a common misconception that it doesn't happen here and that exploitation is only an issue for larger cities and more urban areas, as this is what's tended to be portrayed within the media and news outlets. Unfortunately, it can happen in all towns and rural areas across North Yorkshire, and it affects all communities and children from all walks of life. The ways in which criminals target and groom children in rural areas may be slightly different to those living in larger cities, as children living in the countryside are often more isolated. Criminals can target that isolation, boredom, and lack of opportunity by offering excitement, attention, and easy money. Criminals may look to target young people in the country because there's less of a police presence, more unmanned bus or train stations, and more often sparser CCTV coverage. They'll take advantage of the misconception that exploitation doesn't happen here, as they feel that people may not always be looking out for it and alert to signs and symptoms. We also know that exploitation takes place both online and in the places and spaces where young people spend their time, often with the two overlapping. Now, this can be quite hidden and the signs can be quite difficult to spot, and really does require people to be curious and professionally curious. If they see a change in a child's behaviour, then it's really important to understand why that might be the case and why that might be happening, and not just assume that the child is at fault, and most importantly, share and report any concerns that may be held. So looking at some warning signs, again, these can be subtle and changes in behaviour can be an indicator, so it's really important to be curious. So things like missing episodes either through the day or through the night, changes in appearance, alongside changes in behaviour in friendship groups, and also taking into consideration new possessions or new items with no real means of funding those or no explanation as to where they may have come from. A change in coping mechanisms, thinking of drugs and alcohol and potential self-harm, alongside injuries, either unexplained injuries, bruising or marks, or injuries where the explanation doesn't account for the injury that's being seen as present. Considering a young person's online use, again spending more time online or becoming more secretive, and also looking at new places or discovering where a young person might have been to a new place with no obvious connection or travel facilitation for getting there. So across North Yorkshire, we look to tackle exploitation across two levels, the first being the MACE Level 1. And this is a child-focused discussion, and this case discussion takes place across partners within the MAS team, alongside the allocated worker and any other professionals that may be required for that discussion. The meeting will result in agreement as to the risk level for that child, which can be one of four outcomes: high, medium, low or no risk. Plans will then be put in place and reviewed, agreed based upon the level of risk that's been determined within that discussion. The MACE Level 2 meetings are chaired across the district areas, so there are 7 in total, and these meetings discuss information regarding the links between children at risk or subject to exploitation, perpetrators and individuals who may pose a risk by exploitation, locations that might pose a risk of harm or community intelligence, and the meeting looks to contain 4 key components. The first being the identification and assessment of perpetrators and/or individuals who may pose a risk by exploitation. The second being the sharing of community intelligence related to those perpetrators or individuals, as well as locations where harm has been caused within the communities. Thirdly, we'll look to identify the community links between victims and perpetrators who may pose a risk by exploitation, and locations alongside locality mapping exercises. And lastly, we look to develop robust locality partnership action plans in order to develop intelligence, pursue and prosecute perpetrators, and disrupt exploitation activity within our communities. Now, these are key partnership meetings to attend so we can all work together and share vital information to disrupt exploitation. There's no hierarchy within the meetings, and all partners are absolutely welcome to come and share key information, whether it be from police, from schools, from community or our voluntary sectors. Often all of those professionals who have the most vital eyes and ears and the places and spaces that we look to consider. Now, the National Referral Mechanism is the UK's framework for identifying and supporting victims of modern slavery. And modern slavery is a complex crime that includes the recruitment, movement, harbouring or receiving of children for the purpose of exploitation or trafficking, and holding a person in a position of slavery, servitude or forced or compulsory labour. Now, this crime is abuse and should absolutely be treated as such. If a child is being used for the benefit of others, including to commit any crime, to work inappropriately, or to take part in any sexual activity, and they are being moved or kept anywhere for that purpose, then they are being trafficked and a national referral mechanism must be submitted. And it's important to note that being moved can cover any distance. It's not just covering from one country to another. It can be from one side of a street, from one house to another, or from one hotel room to another. And it's really important to consider that the National Referral Mechanism runs alongside established safeguarding processes. It is not designed to replace them. If you think that you've encountered a victim of modern slavery, then you must notify the Home Office. You do not need evidence of this. Reasonable belief alone will be sufficient. Modern slavery is a serious crime and victims are likely to suffer or have suffered significant harm as a result. The information in the notification to the Home Office should therefore reflect the gravity of these concerns. If you are a first responder and you suspect you have a child who may have been a victim of modern slavery, you should speak to your managers and then contact the National Referral Mechanism Coordinator at the email at nrm@northyorks.gov.uk, and the National Referral Mechanism Coordinator will then provide further information and guide you through the process of taking the child through the NRM panel. An NRM referral is the starting point of an investigation of a serious criminal offence by the police. Therefore, time and care should be taken when completing the referral, and the coordinator will help guide you through this process. Please contact the NRM inbox to request a summary guide outlining the information that may be needed to include, and then forward to the coordinator for them to submit the referral on your behalf. Serious youth violence has a devastating impact on victims, families and communities across North Yorkshire and across the country, and whilst we know that overall North Yorkshire is one of the safest places to live, we can't be naive in thinking that serious violence doesn't happen here, because unfortunately we know that it does, and people across our county need to feel safe and also be kept safe. The Serious Violence Duty was introduced by the Home Office in January 2023 and encourages police, fire and crime commissioners to convene specified authorities to collaborate and work in partnership to prevent and reduce serious violence that occurs in the local area. The main aim of the Serious Violence Duty is to reduce serious violence across York and North Yorkshire, and the duty focuses on 5 strategic priorities. The first being awareness raising and public perception. The second, children and young people under the age of 18 of school age. The third being possession and use of weapons. The fourth being alcohol, violence and the nighttime economy. And the fifth, violence against women and girls, often referred to as VOG. The Violence Duty recognises that child exploitation and violence towards women and girls are significant aspects of serious violence. Exploited children are often coerced into violent activities such as gang involvement or drug trafficking, making them both victims and potential perpetrators of violence. Violence against women and girls is recognised as a form of serious violence that requires a targeted approach to protect victims and address root causes. Young women and girls can be disproportionately affected by exploitation, and coercive control linked to serious violence. The Serious Violence Duty aims to promote multi-agency partnerships working to safeguard at-risk children and disrupt exploitative networks through the use of preventative interventions such as education and family support, educating young people, promoting healthy relationships and holding perpetrators accountable. And the QR code that you see there on screen will take you directly to the Serious Violence Duty website for further information and access to the Serious Violence Strategy. So the online community partnership intelligence forms gives professionals a safe and direct way to share information with North Yorkshire Police. And this is a safe way to share any concerns around any incidents or suspicious activities, any unusual exchanges, or something that just makes you feel professionally uncomfortable. It's important to note that sharing intelligence doesn't supersede a safeguarding referral, and any concerns about a child, you should provide a safeguarding referral and follow your local safeguarding procedures in order to do so. The North Yorkshire Police have launched an online portal which the QR code on screen will take you directly to and provide you the opportunity to share direct with the police the information and concerns that you may hold. So looking at our Be Aware site, this site has been designed specifically for parents, carers and professionals with information designed around exploitation, around the themes and trends that we often see, and also the needs and wants of carers, parents and professionals with regards to exploitation. There's also a section on the Young People's section site in order for them to gain knowledge based around what young people said that they wanted to know, for example, how to spot their signs in friends and also how to keep safe online. The Be Aware site is a one-stop site for everything in relation to child exploitation, and again the QR code will take you directly to the site on the North Yorkshire Safeguarding Children's Partnership website. So finally, just to recap, signs of exploitation can be subtle, and therefore it's really important to be professionally curious. You are the vital eyes and ears within our communities, and the information that you may hold could absolutely disrupt child exploitation. Please utilise our resources, the Be Aware site and our 1-minute guides and professional curiosity information for further help and guidance. And if you would like any further information, please feel free to get in contact with us. Scan the QR code that will take you direct to our Be Aware site and our partnership website for further help and information and guidance. Thank you very much for taking the time for listening and taking part in this video. If you do have any further questions, then again, please feel free to get in touch, and we look forward to seeing you present at the summit on the 18th of June 2025. Many thanks. Take care.